So, as you can see in the syllabus here, you can see that we have to first understand what are the different types of muscles. Now here you can see the three basic types of muscle. One is cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle, and the smooth muscle. And I think in your plus 2 classes you have some idea regarding what do you mean by a cardiac muscle and skeletal muscle and a smooth muscle. Basically, cardiac muscle is a muscle present in heart. Skeletal muscle is the muscle that is constituting most of our body muscles. Then smooth muscles are mainly present in intestine and stomach. So from your picture itself you will have an idea. Now we have to see what are the basic features of these different types of muscle. To begin with, this is the structure of muscle about which we will come back later. Now here if you take a skeletal muscle, the skeletal muscle are known by that name because these type of muscles are attached to a skeletal system. Here you can see that this is our arm, and here there is one muscle, here also there is another muscle. And these are known as the four biceps muscles and tricep muscle. Now since these muscles are attached with the skeletal system or a bone, we call it by the name skeletal muscle. So the term skeletal muscle is coming because of that nature. They are attached with the skeletal system. So this is the muscle. Here also one muscle, here also one muscle. This is the bicep muscle and this is the tricep muscle. And these muscles are always attached with the skeletal, attached with the skeleton or a bone. That is why we call it by the name skeletal muscle. Now going to the description of these muscle cells, you can see that they have a very long cylindrical cell. In this picture you can find the individual cells, that is this muscle is enlarged into the cellular level, and you can find that in each skeletal cell it is a very long skeletal cell, long cylindrical shaped cell, and in each cell there will be more than one nucleus. So multi-nucleus, that is one feature of this skeletal muscle. That is, if you take one cell, that cell itself has more than one nucleus. And such a type is known by the name syncytium. That is another term. Now another term that we are using for a skeletal muscle is that it is also known by the striated muscle. Now if you look at this picture, you can see that now in the case of skeletal muscle, this kind of a dark and light bands are there, just like zebra crossing. You can see that dark bands are there as well as light bands are there. And these dark striations as well as light striations are giving the skeletal muscle a banded appearance, just like a zebra crossing line is appearing. And that is why we call it by the name striated muscle, striated, just like for example, or if you buy a shirt, sometimes the shirt will be having stripes. That stripe is known by the name striation. So there are two terms. You can either call it a striped muscle or you can call it as a striated muscle. Now another important property regarding the skeletal muscle is that they are voluntary. The meaning of the word voluntary is that which we can move at our desire or at our will. For example, here there is one muscle, here there is another muscle. If I want to lift my hands, I can actually my brain is controlling the contraction of this muscle and my hands are pulling up. So these sort of muscles are actually under the direct control of our will or desire. According to our desire or according to our will, we can control the movements of this muscle, and they are known as voluntary muscle. That is, which muscle which can be moved according to our desire or according to our will. So that is one peculiarity of the skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscles are always known by the name voluntary muscle. Now coming to the next point, that is they have a expressing very rapid contraction. For example, I am just lifting my hand. The second itself my hand can be pulled up like this. It doesn't take so much of time. But that is not the case with a smooth muscle, because the message will have to reach the intestine. Even then intestine will be acting very slowly. There will not be any faster contraction. So faster contraction or rapid contraction is a characteristic feature of skeletal muscle. അത് സെക്കൻഡ് അവർ വരും. തീരൂല. അതാ അതുപോലെ തീർക്കുന്നു, അല്ലാണ്ട് വേറെ നിവൃത്തിയില്ല. യൂര എടുക്കാൻ വേണം. Okay. So going to the skeletal muscle, that is the features. So these are some of the important features. Now another point, that there is a point of insertion as well as point of origin. Here you can see that this is the point of origin. There is a starting point is known as a point of origin, and this ending point is known as a point of insertion. So these are two important parts of a skeletal muscle. It will be beginning at one region and ending at another region, and they are known as a point of origin as well as a point of insertion. Now you will see few more points regarding skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle called skeleton to move, because if you take any at the joints, so here this is a joint, and this joint is we can move this joint because of the muscle present here. When this muscle is contracting, my hand will be pulled up like this. Now there is one muscle here. When that muscle is contracting, but there will be a force in this direction, and the hand will be moving down. So this is the bicep muscle and this is the tricep muscle. So this folding of hand is actually controlled by two muscles. A muscle can only contract. A muscle has no so it can only, so when this muscle is contracting, there will be folding of hands like this. When this muscle is contracting, there will be straightening of arms like this. So this is how the muscle is actually controlling opposite movements in a body. So here you can see that the skeleton muscle causes skeleton to move at the joints, and they are attached to skeleton by tendons. Here you can see that there is a tendon here. See, at the end, this is the muscle, and here there is a very narrow small structure. It is this structure that is connecting this muscle. In this next picture also you may be able to see it much. See, this is the tendon. So this is the muscle, and muscle is actually attached to the bone by means of a small rope-like structure, which can easily, very strongly attach to a bone, and this structure is known by the name tendon. So you might, right now you may be knowing what is a tendon. Tendon is that part of the muscle which is helping in the attachment with a bone. So the end part of the muscles are usually narrowed and become a rope-like structure, and it is known by the name of tendon. So regarding the further details of that, so there is a tendon, and how tendons are made. Tendons are actually made of a type of fibers known by the collagen fibers. And these collagen fibers are very strong and also very stiff and hard. So that is why the muscle is very strongly attached with the bone. So muscles are either contracted or relaxed. So there is two important. So muscle can remain only in two states, either in a state of contraction or in a state of relaxation. So that is just like you take a rubber band. Either rubber band is in a relaxed state. So when we are pulling it, we are actually stretching it. So just like that, muscle can either remain in a contraction or in a relaxation. So when contracted, muscles exert a pulling force. So for example, if the muscle here is contracting, it is pulling force. It is pulling this arm to fold up like this. So muscle, when contraction of muscle is causing a pulling force, causing it to shorten. That is so. When a muscle is contracting, this is the length of the muscle. When this muscle is contracting, this total length will be reduced to smaller size. So that is what is happening in a muscle. Since muscle can only pull, it cannot push. They work in pairs called antagonistic muscle. Earlier I told you, here there is a bicep muscle, here there is a tricep muscle. They are working in opposite direction, because the bicep is pulling. When bicep is contracting, it causes the folding of arms. When tricep muscle is contracting, it causes the straightening of the arm. So this kind of opposite actions are known by the name, a pair of muscle which work in opposite action are also in a pair is known by the name antagonistic. Antagonistic means just the opposite. antagonistic muscle. So muscle that bend the joint is called a flexor muscle. Flexing is actually folding or bending. So here the bicep is a flexor muscle. A muscle that straightens the joint is known as an extensor muscle. So again, so tricep muscle is an extensor muscle. So here this is how the picture is going. So here this is the flexor muscle and this is the tricep muscle, which is known as the extensor muscle. So these are the basic idea regarding the skeletal muscle. So the one important point regarding skeletal muscle that we have to keep in your mind, it is always a striated muscle. It has a dark and light bands, so it is known as a striated muscle. Then it is also a voluntary muscle that is moved or controlled at our desire or will. Then see, this is an antagonistic muscle. Here you can see that this is a flexor muscle. Bicep muscle is causing the flexing of arms. Okay, so you can see that the elbow muscle, which are actually the extensor muscle. Extensor muscle means the tricep muscle. That is known by the name an extensor muscle. So there are two types of muscle. An example for an antagonistic muscle is the biceps as well as tricep. Bicep is a flexor muscle, whereas tricep is an extensor muscle. Now we go to the second type of muscle, that is the cardiac muscle. Why it is known as a cardiac muscle? It is present in the heart region. That is why it is known as a cardiac muscle. So going to a cardiac muscle, you can see that one important property of the cardiac muscle is that they have one or two nuclei per cell. That is one important feature of the cardiac muscle. So each cardiac muscle may be mostly having one nucleus or sometimes more than one nucleus, usually two nucleus. Then just like the striated muscle, that you can see that here, the cardiac muscle will be having a very faint striation. See, this is the skeletal muscle, but the striations are very prominent, very clear. But here you look at that, here also striations are there, dark and white bands are there, or dark and light regions are there, but they are not as visible or as clear as in the case of a skeletal muscle. So that is why we call faint striations, faint, not very prominent, it is a very faint striation. So that is a peculiarity of a cardiac muscle, and we call a cardiac muscle by that name because they are associated with the heart region of cardiac muscle. Then they are involuntary. What is the meaning of the word? Earlier we were discussing what is a voluntary muscle. Voluntary muscle is something which can be moved according to our will. But in the case of a cardiac muscle, it is involuntary. Our heart is actually made up of cardiac muscle. So, and they are involuntary, not in our control. If it was in our control and heart attack or something comes, we can tell our heart at least work again. It is not happening because it is not in our control. So that is why cardiac muscles are involuntary. So it is involuntary. Then we can see that medium speed contraction. Their rate of contraction is at a slower rate. So they are not moving at a very faster rate. They are in a moderate speed, but much faster than the speed of a smooth muscle. So that is a peculiarity of the cardiac muscle. Then you can see that this is how a cardiac muscles are usually appearing. Now one important feature of a cardiac muscle is that here between two cardiac muscle there is a junction, and that junction is known by the name intercalated disc. This is known by the name intercalated disc. So intercalated disc is the junction between two adjacent cardiac cells. So that is one another important peculiarity that we are finding in this of cardiac cells. Unlike other types of cells, we cannot see any intercalated disc in either skeletal cell or in a smooth cell. They are only present in a cardiac muscle. Then So this is also a picture of the cardiac muscle, which you can see below a microscope. If you take a microscope like that and observe it like that, this is a picture of a real cardiac system. See, this is the intercalated disc, and here also the intercalated. This is one cardiac cell, this is another cardiac cell, and between them there is a intercalated disc, and this is a nucleus. So this is the photo of a cardiac muscle. Now microscopic level of anatomy, the cardiac cell, this is also, you can see that how the internal detailed structures of my cardiac muscles are actually arranged. Then, so this is also another picture, we will come to that later again. Now, for the time being, remember that important features of cardiac muscles are that they are branching cells. What is that? Here you can see these are all branching cells. See? These are branching cells, not always in a straight line, they are branching cells. Then second point regarding cardiac cell is that involuntary. Then faint striations are the medium speed contractions. Now we have one more muscle, that is smooth muscle. Where we can find smooth muscle? In the intestine as well as in our stomach. These are the two main regions where we can find smooth muscle. Now, peculiarity of the smooth muscles are that they are fusiform. The meaning of the word fusiform is that both ends are pointed. So, both ends are pointed, then we call it with the name fusiform. So, the cells constituting smooth muscle cells are always fusiform. There is another term for that, spindle shaped. So, for example, this is a rectangular. If this end is pointed like that and this end is also pointed like this, we can call it a spindle shaped or a fusiform. So, fusiform cells are there. Then second characteristic is that there is only one nucleus for each cell. So, in the case of cardiac cell, maybe two nuclei may be present. In the case of a muscle cell or skeletal cells, we can find more than two nuclei are there. But here only one nucleus is present for each cell. Then they are non-striated. So that is one important feature of this smooth muscle. Unlike other types of cell, these type of cells are non-striated. Here you can see that there are no striations are there, no dark bands or no white bands are there. That is why they are known as smooth. Because when we are looking at that, we can find that in case of cardiac muscle as well as skeletal muscle, we can find some bands are there. But it is smoothly clean. That is why they are known as smooth muscle. So that is the reason why. And here also you can see that. See, this is the ends of the smooth muscle. These both ends are pointed. That is known as fusiform. And there is only one nucleus, and that is another peculiarity of that. Then going to the smooth muscle again, we can see in a smooth muscle, the type of contraction. The type of contraction that is happening in a smooth muscle is a slow wave-like contraction. And that slow wave-like contraction is known by the name peristalsis. See, this is the esophagus, and from the esophagus, when the food is passing through the esophagus, there is a small gentle wave-like pattern of contraction. That wave-like pattern of contraction is known by the name peristalsis. The food or water is always going down from our mouth to the stomach because of this wave-like contraction. Even if you stand upside down and drink something or eat something, the food will be going to your stomach. It will not come out because of this contraction. And that contraction is known by the name peristalsis. And smooth muscles are capable of peristalsis. That is one important feature of the smooth muscle. Then you can see that they are involuntary. Because we don't have any control on our stomach or on our intestine. They cannot be controlled. That's why they are known as involuntary. Then, so here also you can find other points regarding the smooth muscle, where smooth muscles are present. Most of the time the smooth muscles are present in the intestine as well as stomach. And they are also present in certain areas of the eye region also. You can find smooth muscles are there, especially in this regarding the region near the eyeball, where the lens are actually attached. We can find smooth muscles are present. Now there is a furthermore topic. There is a microanatomy or the skeletal of a skeletal muscle. I think we will take that in another class.